Our next speaker has a good news story to tell us about a community that valued a social and cultural asset and was prepared to fight to keep it. The success of the Save the Flinders Pier campaign showed what can be achieved when a community comes together to unite around something we love and they loved. Who knows? This may inspire us all to unite about something that we all love, our planet. Welcome, Charles.
I think that'll be fine.
Okay.
Good, thanks very much for that, Sarah, and thank you everyone who's turned out today to listen to all of us. Everyone's got a slightly different story to tell. My story is about the Flinders Pier. It was an initiative of the Flinders Community Association, and we have our president, our former president, in the audience today, so she's going to make sure that I stick to the straight and narrow as I sort of retell the tale. The Save Flinders Pier campaign is interesting in that it hinged on two things. An overarching objective to make us look much bigger than we actually were, and a written strategy from the very start that carefully mapped each step. Mobilising and genuinely uniting a community in a way that hadn't been done in Flinders in a similar way, or if it hadn't been done for a very long time. Framing a response to a government decision that everyone understood and drew people in to support us. And functioning on a principle of inclusivity by making people feel personally that the pier belonged to them. So it was the divers and the swimmers, it was the artists, the environmentalists, it was the commercial fishermen, the history lovers, the visitors and the residents. It was people from within Flinders, from outside Flinders, from across the Balnarring Peninsula, across Melbourne, across Victoria. And then, as we later discovered, from further afield than that. Our primary goal was to exaggerate our size because Flinders is not a big place. We posted online continuously. We ensured Balnarring Peninsula News had something to run nearly every fortnight. We used talkback radio whenever an opportunity arose. We displayed signs across the peninsula, across all the walking tracks. We had a group of volunteers who cleaned the beach. We had a group of volunteer divers who would go down and clear litter from underneath the pier, and each of these were events from which we were able to create some publicity. We ran an art competition across all the local schools, undertook our own pier condition report, produced a range of merchandise, which I'm still wearing. We towed a trailer up and down the Balnarring Peninsula with placards stuck to the side, and we'd park it in different townships along the peninsula. We towed that same trailer into Melbourne metropolitan area, and everywhere we towed it, we'd take a photo and write up a story, and we'd post it on social media. We built a media profile with the major newspapers, and Flinders Pier became a common reference point for other piers in disrepair. We wrote letters to the editor, very old school, but once again, more often than not, they would publish those letters. And everything we did was with one objective, and that was to feed the media clipping services that the government employs. So any of you or anyone who's worked in government or big organisations will know that the media is being clipped all the time because people want to know what's going on, what's being said about them. So our job, it was like a hack. It was to game that process by giving those media services lots and lots of things to clip. And they're doing the same with social media. They're clipping social media and reporting on social media. So we used that very strongly as well. We partnered with the Flinders District Historical Society to launch an application for heritage listing that was ultimately successful. We corresponded with Parks Victoria. We reached out to all 128 members of the Upper and Lower House of State Parliament to get them thinking and talking. Even though it might not have been in their electorate, we wanted them to think this was an issue that might affect them, so they needed to pay attention. And we engaged directly with all our local politicians and local candidates. We simultaneously reviewed legislation and conducted research using freedom of information to better understand the decision and authority to demolish the pier. And what we discovered began to alarm us. But it also fuelled our campaign. When you run a campaign like this, the government wants to give you gifts, and freedom of information is one of those gifts. You'd be surprised what you find out. You're surprised how much you can actually use then in the conduct of your own campaign. As we found out more, we actually built a case for the State Ombudsman to conduct her own review about the decision and the behaviours of Parks Victoria. It was, in our view, in contravention of the Waterways Management Act under which Parks Victoria operates. We didn't pursue it, but it was just something to have up our sleeve. We met with, we were delegated to a political advisor instead of the Minister or Parks Victoria. That is another story. So there was also a breakdown in the probity and governance in terms of the way the government dealt with us. Something else that we kept in our back pocket. I think in terms of summary, the 5 takeaways for me now that the pier is saved is community change or community-driven change is always possible. The wisdom of crowds can offer solutions in the most unexpected ways. Listen carefully to the smallest voices who are often the source of the best ideas. Take the time to study and understand the detail, especially if it involves government, and have a strategy, but also plan for the end, because victory or failure often comes very suddenly, and you need to know what to do when that time comes. Thank you very much.